Good morning. It is Wednesday, June the 9th, and this is The Drill. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. My name's Ron, and I'm your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today we're going to be doing I'm going to be reading from the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare. Then we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, the Star-Spangled-Banner, and more from the 30 covert-emotional-manipulation techniques. All that when I get back. Thank you. The Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare. You will break generational curses in my strength. The power and authority that I've given you because of the sacrifice of my son Jesus enables you to loose yourself and your loved ones from any curses that have come to you through your inheritance or generations. His power and authority at work in your life will heal the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, open the prison for those who are bound, rebuild the old ruins, and repair the desolation of many generations. Just as I gave the rainbow to Noah as a sign that I will remember my everlasting covenant with my children, so too my gift of salvation and deliverance to you through my son Jesus is an everlasting loosening of the bondage of generational curses that had entered your life in times past. Rise up and be encouraged. If my son has made you free, you are free indeed. Prayer declaration. Because of the power and authority of Jesus Christ, I break all generational curses of pride, rebellion, lust, poverty, witchcraft, idolatry, death, destruction, failure, sickness, infirmity, fear, and rejection. I command all spirits from my past that are hindering my present and future to come out in the name of Jesus, and I command all ancestral spirits that entered through my ancestors to come out. Amen. And so now we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star-Spangled Banner. Thank you, and now for the Star-Spangled Banner. Very beautiful, gorgeous. And I do the prayer declaration so that I remind myself and remind the audience that about Jesus, God, the devil, and that's how everything makes sense. When you look at a lot of things that go on in the world and you're asking why is there evil in the world, That's a question you're going to ask if you're an atheist. That's a question that you're going to be asking if you're socialist trying to get rid of religion. First, you disabuse people of the notion that there's a devil, there's Satan. You make fun of them, you laugh at them. And then once they quit talking about the devil, then you start asking the questions, gee, how come there's so much evil in the world? Because now the idea is, first you get rid of the devil, then you get rid of God. And you get rid of God by mocking God and saying that if there was a God, then there wouldn't be so much evil, ignoring the fact that it isn't God that brings the evil, it's Satan. So once you bring Satan into the equation, then everything makes sense. So, and then we do the Pledge of Allegiance and Star-Spangled-Banner, again, symbols of patriotism, and we have the recordings of children doing it because we want, it's not an idea, the idea isn't for the Pledge of Allegiance and Star-Spangled Banner to be martial about it or to be imperialistic, but to have, again, a more innocent, to project something a little bit more innocent than that. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue reading from a book called The 30 Covert Emotional Manipulation Techniques. 11 is called Shame. We feel shame when someone communicates to us that we are not worthy of respect. A manipulator makes a victim feel shame by expressing disgust or disappointment, using sarcasm or put-downs, or comparing us to someone else they claim to think is better in some way. Shame is a very powerful tool for manipulators. Few emotional states are more painful than shame. We feel guilty for what we do, but we feel shame for what we are. Shame, and by the way, I disagree with that. That's wrong. Guilt is a concept. Shame is an emotion. I say that you judge yourself guilty and you feel ashamed. But anyway, so back to the book. Shame is a feeling of deep humiliation, and some manipulators enjoy making their victims feel humiliated. It places them in a superior position. According to clinical psychologist Gershon Kaufman, shame is the most disturbing experience individuals ever have about themselves. No other emotion feels more deeply disturbing because in the moment of shame, the self feels wounded from within. In relationships, we feel shame from anything we say or do that we believe weakens the bond or causes rejection. Many of the manipulation tactics described here accomplish one or both of these. Shame can turn into the pervasive belief that you are in some way inherently defective or unacceptable. So this manipulation tactic can cause serious psychological harm. Your sense of self-worth will suffer, and that you will have a negative effect on all aspects of your life. 12. Empty words. Quote, the basic tool for the manipulation of the reality is the manipulation of words. Unquote. Sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen? Don't we hear the left doing this every day? We hear it in the news and read it in the news, etc., that they using the word migrant instead of immigrant, and using the word homeless instead of bum, vagrant, or squatter. So, manipulators are liars who think nothing of making a promise or commitment they have no intention of keeping. They are also consummate seducers who can turn on the charm and tell you exactly what you want to hear. Quote, I love you, unquote. You're so special to me. I don't know how I got so lucky. I've waited my whole life for you. When a manipulator utters these words, they are backed up by nothing. But you may not notice that his or her actions are telling a very different story. Using empty words to fulfill your need for approval, love, validation, admiration, appreciation, or reassurance gives a manipulator incredible power over you. They tell you what you want to hear in order to get what they want. Always remember, actions speak louder than words. If you feel confused because someone tells you that they love you, but they don't act like they do, judge them by their actions alone. You will have your answer. 13. Crazy making. It's called crazy making for a reason. When using this tactic, a manipulator simply denies ever having said something they did indeed say. It could happen a month later, a year later, or a minute later. You know the manipulator said it, they know they said it, and they know you know they said it. But none of that matters. They will simply insist they never said what it is that they said and hope that you believe them. If you feel you need to have a tape recorder running whenever you talk to somebody, you are a victim of crazy making. Again, a favorite tactic of the left. We see this happening every day on the news. We hear about it on the radio and on television about the left doing these very things, claiming to say, or that they haven't said things that we know they have, claiming that they did not take actions that we know they did. 14, gaslighting. Using the tactic of gaslighting, the manipulator denies and therefore invalidates reality. Again, where have we seen this before? Invalidating reality distorts or undermines the victim's perceptions of their world and can even lead them to question their own sanity. Hello. And gaslighting, basically, when it comes right down to it, is another way of trying to prove a negative. Okay. When the left is asking you to prove that something did not occur, it does not exist, will not happen. They're gaslighting. Quote, I don't know where you got that idea. It's all in your head. You've always had a bad memory. That never happened. Are you crazy? You must be trying to confuse me. You're imagining things. I have no idea what you're talking about. Unquote. This kind of deception seems like it would be obvious, but it usually begins very gradually and increases in frequency and severity over time. And right here, the things he listed before really more belong in the crazy making category, not in gaslighting. Again, gaslighting, the one way they have to get you to make you question your sanity is by trying to get you to prove a negative. And if you don't realize that proving a negative is impossible, you think that you should be able to do it. You know, if you can, like if they're talking about reality, they're questioning reality, and you think that you should be able to prove prove a negative with regards to reality or anything else for that matter. Not only are you going to struggle, but you're going to start questioning your own sanity, because you're going to say to yourself, I should be able to prove this. I should be able to come up with some type of a convincing argument, not realizing that you've been had, that you have fallen into a trap, and that the only way to get out of that trap is to quit trying to prove the negative. This kind of deception seems like it would be victims eventually question their version of reality. When they no longer trust their own perceptions, they rely on the manipulator to define reality and can no longer function independently. Having rendered the victim completely helpless and lacking in any self-esteem, the manipulator is able to exercise total domination and get whatever it is they want, whether it's a feeling of superiority, financial control, or sexual benefits. Examples of gaslighting. A manipulator claims the victim is mistaken in her belief that he wanted a committed long-term relationship, though everything he did and said created that belief. That's another thing where this is what he's talking about here is plausible deniability. Okay, as long as he doesn't come out and explicitly say, yes, I want a long-term relationship, then as far as he's concerned, he's got a way out. Well, but then you're going to realize that, again, too late. When you confront the guy and you realize he never said he wanted a relationship, you assumed he did by his actions. A manipulator says something in an angry tone of voice, but when the victim becomes upset, the manipulator denies having used an angry tone. And usually they're going to deny it in a very patient way. I don't know what you're talking about. So as though they're talking to a mental patient, a small child, something like that. A manipulator deliberately upsets a victim, then mocks them or puts them down for overreacting. And these are, again, all of the examples that he's about to go into, and I'm not going to go into them, are really about crazy making. If you want to know what gaslighting really is, it's about proving a negative. If there's one area in which the conservative can make huge strides in defeating the left, quit trying to prove a negative. And they get you to prove a negative usually by making an arbitrary claim. And a lot of times their arbitrary claim isn't even a direct claim. It's a suggestion. So that you're suggesting that you're a Nazi if you don't see things their way. And then what you do is you jump out and say, I am not a Nazi. And then the more that you try to defend yourself from a claim that is arbitrary, they haven't provided one shred of evidence, one bit of proof, the worse things get for you. You sense that the more you talk, the more you're losing the argument, even though you know that you're right. And that's when you start feeling like you're insane. William F. Buckley, who was supposed to be one of the smartest guys on the planet, fell trap to this when he was going to be having a debate with somebody. Why he was going to get into a debate with this individual, I don't know, but that's an issue for another time. And probably his own ego. He's just, he was such a big ego guy. Anyways, so the guy, his opponent calls him a crypto-Nazi. A crypto-Nazi. And he flew into a rage. William F. Buckley did. He said he threatened the guy physically. He was going to beat him up. He said, sock him. You say it again, I'm going to sock you. And you'll stay socked. Well, all William F. Buckley's doing at that point is proving to this guy and to the world that he's exactly what the accuser is claiming he is, a Nazi. So, and I'm sure at that particular point, William F. Buckley is feeling, again, like he's probably questioning his own sanity at that particular point. He knows he's right. He knows he's not a Nazi, but the more he argues about it, the more he flails around, the more he threatens violence, the more he feels like a Nazi. So, let me see. You might be a victim of gaslighting if you apologize often, have trouble making decisions, have changed significantly over the course of a relationship, feel you're in a constant state of bewilderment, or become reclusive and withdrawn. A lot of this gaslighting is really about shutting you up. You got basically one of two choices: join the movement or shut up. In other words, lead, follow, or get out of the way. Okay, but no criticism is allowed. Back to the book. Gaslighting is even more effective when used in combination with other techniques. And that's exactly right. Crazy making, which is basically what he's describing in the gaslighting section. So he's got that wrong. But anyways, true enough that it's good, done well in combination with other techniques. Number 15, bewilderment. The manipulator uses this tactic to convince you that something she did was wrong, really wasn't as bad as you think it is. She will tell you that you're making a big deal out of nothing, or that you're exaggerating or overreacting when you confront her about her wrongdoing. You can be sure that if a manipulator uses this tactic, they will engage in the same bad behavior in the future. 16, the silent treatment. And we've all probably been exposed to this at some time in our life. Supposedly because of something you did, the manipulator refuses to communicate with you and uses emotional or physical withdrawal as a punishment. This is commonly called the silent treatment, stonewalling, or withholding. It's also called cutoff. It conveys contempt and communicates that you are not worth the manipulator's acknowledgement of your existence, let alone his or her time, love, attention, or consideration, according to Steve Becker, LCSW. He writes, the silencer's aim is, above all, to silence communication. More specifically, it is to render the other invisible and, in so doing, induce feelings of powerlessness and shame. And even more so, again, it's a technique that also creates an extreme anxiety and a sense of desperation. You're desperate to do whatever is necessary to make this other person happy so that they will quit ignoring you. Problem is that once you give in, they know that the technique works, and now they're going to use it again. And I've been in a situation where I had an individual pulled this on me, and the first time they did, and I was a teenager when the first time that this happened, and so I lasted an hour or two, and then I broke down sobbing and crying and whatnot. And then, since they knew that this worked, then the next time they pulled this stunt, and I decided I'm going to keep a stiff upper lip. You want to play the ignore me strategy? Fine. You go ahead and do it. I'm not giving in. Then since they knew it worked once, their confidence is going to work again, that if they just hold out long enough. And so it became a contest of wills. And again, not a contest of right and wrong, but a contest of will. So the silent treatment. And let's see. Becker says the silent treatment is a technique of torture. This might sound hyperbolic, but human beings need, on the most basic level, recognition of their existence. The withholding of this recognition, especially if protracted, can have soul-warping consequences on personality. Given the silent treatment is an effective way for a manipulator to get you to behave as he or she wants you to. And again, that's if you give in to it. You have to find a way not to give in to it. Because, see, the problem with the silent treatment is that it creates, not only does it create extreme pressure on the person that's being ignored, it creates extreme pressure on the person that's doing the ignoring. It's a game of chicken. Who's going to blink first? Okay, and the longer it goes on, the more pressure there is on the ignorer. Okay, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And and also what you can find too is if you're a young person and you're being subjected to this kind of technique, is that later on in life, when you're dealing with frustration, when you're dealing with rejection, that you're going to probably respond the same way. You're going to end up ignoring, giving the silent treatment to the person that you think has offended or hurt you. 17, lying. Lying is the granddaddy of manipulation tactics. Purposeful manipulators lie frequently and without remorse, and have an arsenal of lying styles to work from. Others may feel remorse, but will lie anyway to get what they want. And a lot of lying is substance abuse oriented. I've known a lot of people that are alcoholics or drug addicts that are natural liars. They just lie at the drop of a hat, and they do so most of the time because they want to get to their drug of choice, alcohol, heroin, or whatever. Manipulators will say anything to get results. Many are expert liars who lie convincingly, frequently, and with impunity. Basically, a lie is a false statement deliberately presented as the truth. But there are many other ways to lie that go far beyond simply making a blatantly false statement. Those statements often work, though, because we can't believe that someone we trust would look us in the eye and tell us that it's such a brazen, bald-faced lie. Lies of omission are one of the more subtle forms of lying. Instead of making a deceptive statement, the liar withholds the truth. For example, the manipulator may not tell you he's married if he thinks it would stop you from becoming involved. He didn't tell you that he wasn't married, he just didn't tell you that he was. And it's called lying by omission. And so if you come across a situation like that, you can call the lefty on it by saying, you're a liar, and you're lied by omission. Vagueness is another subtle form of lying. When you confront a manipulator about something, they respond, but their answer is lacking in detail. They count on you not to probe them for more information. An especially effective way to lie is to hide it in the middle of a litany of truths. Liars lie to avoid taking responsibility or to get you to believe that they want you what they want you to believe in order to get something that they want. So, back in a minute. Thank you. And before I continue, I want to remind everybody to buy my book. It's called The Drill. It's on Kindle publishing, and it's published as an ebook. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get it for free. Otherwise, it's $2.99, 80 pages, and a fascinating read, and gives you tremendous insight into the way that I think. So, that's again on Kindle publishing. Go ahead and get that, buy that today. For those of you on YouTube, listening to this on YouTube, don't forget to like and to follow and subscribe, and I would appreciate that. So, I wanted to say that furthermore that for today we're done with the 30 covert emotional manipulation techniques, but next episode, I'm going to be continuing with this. This is an excellent book to give you intellectual, psychological insight into your enemies. Make no mistake that the people on the left are our enemies. They've proved it over and over and over again, not just recently, but over the past 5 or 6 decades. They're dedicated to the destruction of the United States. They're globalists, etc. So, they are, if you want to get a better understanding on who they are, how they operate, and how to defeat them. And the most important thing I read today was about gaslighting. Don't let people make you prove a negative. If you get into that position where you get that queasy little feeling that you're like you're going insane, you've been gaslighted. Stop and ask yourself, you have to, you say, you know what, let's talk about this later, and walk away. Get away from that person and try to figure out, where did it go wrong? Where did they ask you to prove something didn't happen, didn't exist, doesn't exist, wouldn't be better? Why one of their biggest ones is, why shouldn't we change? Why not? Why not as a gaslighting term? Why not do this? Why not do that? And that's not the way it works. The way it works is, why? Why should we do this? Why should we do that? Okay, the burden of proof is always on the people that want change, and the people that always want change are the left. So, until next time, be honest, be smart, be beautiful, and always remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.